It's effective. So,
Yeah. Stay warm.
well, that
What time we got? It's about 7 o'clock, so we'll be starting to. Good.
they'll probably mute you out, I think. So
Yeah, that's okay.
no, we're not. If you have something to say, they ask you on audience participation.
Okay. No problem. Got 26 participants. Wow.
That's great.
Yeah. Very good.
I'm waiting to see if Monica logs on, and then we will get started. We'll give her another minute.
Sounds good.
Monica's.
I'm
And if
here.
you- Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Sherry.
Oh,
Maria
okay. I was-
Piloto. Sorry, Maria. There she is. She's coming in right now. Okay.
I thought you said Monica. Thank you.
I might have.
Yeah, she did.
Okay. So if you are not on mute, I would ask you to put yourself on mute, or I can mute you if you don't know how. All right, there's Monica. So Council President Levon is out of town on business. So I will call the December 14th, 2020 regular meeting of the Wickliffe City Council to order. We will have roll call and then we'll elect a council president pro tem. So we'll start with the roll call. Bogo,
Present.
Gerhardstein, I know you're here, Randy. I saw you. You have to unmute yourself.
Here.
There we go. Jaworski,
Here.
Koski,
Here.
and Saloto.
Here.
And Sakis. Sorry, Joe.
Here.
My notes here are not good. Okay. So then I will entertain a motion to elect a council president pro tem.
I'm not-
would like
I'm
to
not-
elect Mr. Jaworski.
I second it.
All right. So motion by Koski, seconded by Sakis, that Matt Jaworski be elected council president pro tem for the December 14th, 2020 meeting. Is there any discussion? No? Okay, then we'll have a roll call again. Bogo,
Yes.
Hardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes,
Sakis,
Yes.
and Saloto.
Yes.
All right, Matt, it's all yours.
Approval of minutes from November 23rd, 2020.
I like to make a motion that we approve of the minutes.
Second.
second,
Motion by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilwoman Sloto to approve the Wickliffe City Council meeting minutes of November 23rd, 2020. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
yes,
Sakis,
Yes.
and Saloto.
Yes.
Next up, reports and communication from the Mayor's Safety Director.
Thank you, Councilman Jaworski, and good evening, everyone. Regarding economic development for Euclid Avenue, I know Maria may speak on this as well during the commission reports, but Monica and I would suggest using MS, who had the second highest score from council. Per the engineer, we should have a quote this week to smoke test the sewers. He informed me this was last done, I believe, about 12 years ago, if I took my notes correctly. Something to think about for the next year's full year budget. This Saturday, Santa will be driving through town. You may have seen on Facebook, thanks to A1 Mr. Limo and Wickliffe for setting this up. They're going to have a Santa on the back of Lolly the Trolley. They're going to depart from Colby or the police station at 4 o'clock on Saturday, go down Ridge Road to Rush Road to Euclid Avenue, back up Bishop. So if you have kids, families, say park in a parking lot somewhere along that route, and he's just going to drive by and wave to everyone. So it's something fun. True Line construction is coming along, and they now expect to start moving in around the end of February or early March. Premier Development Property, they're moving along as well with a few tenants. We have our next monthly call with them this Wednesday. Sort of random, but thought for next year, tree lawn trees. We don't currently have a plan for planting new trees when either ash trees are removed or when new streets are put in. If anyone on council wishes to give input on this matter, we can add it to committee or discuss it during the budget talks. The mayor's and managers call every Tuesday, continues weekly. The news I hear regarding vaccines is similar to what's in the traditional media. Folks in nursing homes, congregate settings, medical professionals, and EMS employees will be the first to receive or have the offer of the vaccine, depending on who's making it mandatory or not. The numbers with the current cases and how many patients are at the Lake Hospital systems has been a little bit sporadic, but just today, for example, received notice from the Cleveland Clinic, and it was 36 or 37 Lake County residents were in the Cleveland Clinic hospital systems with some level of COVID symptoms, but we don't hear that number, every single day or every single week. So seems to be trending in the right direction, but cases are still increasing. And again, a few folks in the hospital as well. I've been contacting the commission members for renewals and also looking for a few appointments, one being the Tax Incentive Review Council regarding our CRA and then subsequent applications and properties that need to be reviewed over time. All departments will be having their holiday lunches this week and next. City Hall will be enjoying Petty's Pizza, and I have encouraged other directors to provide a lunch from one of the Wickliffe restaurants to their staff. It's very important we continue to support the few restaurants we do have in town this time of year and the small businesses, as much as we can. Thank you, and back to you, Councilman Jaworski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John, do we need to put, and maybe Sandy, you could help me out here. I was trying to look through my notes. I don't see smoke tests, sewer smoke tests in a committee.
We haven't before. I had just asked Pete informally to get us a quote for that.
Okay.
So we could add it to committee or just maybe add it to the finance committee. And I imagine I have no idea what the quote would be, if that's going to be anything substantial that I'd have to ask council for. I guess if it's not that much, I figured we would just get that done. And then once we know what needs to be repaired, bring that to council. But I'm not sure. Pete, do you know how much, like any ballpark, if we need to add that to committee or if we should just wait until the budget conversation?
That's fine, Mr. Mayor. If you want to handle that first part and wait till we get a quote from Pete, then I think we can, after that, put it in the improvement committee and go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Next is the law director.
Thank you, Councilperson Jaworski. I have no report for council this evening.
Okay, there's no communications from Council President Levon. Does anyone have any amendments or additions to tonight's agenda? No? Okay, so moving on then, we'll go on to section number 8 and begin with Police Chief Ice.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. We've had a number of COVID-19 cases in the police department. Right now, we have 4 employees that are out. The apartment fire that was at 29514 a few weeks ago requires a little bit more investigation. So my detectives are working on that. So you probably don't remember, this past summer we had a shooting up at Fairbridge. One fellow was shooting at another one. So we ended up working with Cleveland Police and we generated a suspect in that. It was gang related. So we're expecting arrest warrants sometime in the relatively near future. Also, and then last night there was a shooting at the Bogside Lounge in Willowick that our guys were down there assisting with. The person that was involved in or doing the shooting is actually a Wickliffe resident, and we arrested him along with a Willowick at his home on Drenick. That would be all that I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone have any questions for Chief Ice? No? Okay, we'll move on then to Fire Chief Powers.
Thank you, Councilman Jaworski. For the month of November, our calls were up 35% over the previous year for in November of 2019. Most of that was related to COVID-19 transports. We're transporting several COVID patients a day. Mostly there are elderly residents who are having some form of distress. But that number seems to be backing off a little bit right now, and hopefully they'll continue to decrease. Our personnel will probably be offered vaccinations here at the first part of the new year, which would be a good thing. Right now, we've done very well at keeping COVID out of the fire station, as much exposure as we have to it. We only have one part-time firefighter out that was exposed to it and suffering the effects of COVID, and he's doing well, which is good. Other than that, we're going to take a delivery on a new ambulance next Monday through the CARES Act, which is a good thing for us. And then the other thing I have, Councilman Jaworski, is that there's a pay ordinance on tonight. And I spoke to Council President Levon and the mayor about this. This represents our part-time employees, our part-time firefighters, paramedics. And we thought it appropriate that they get the same percentage raise at the beginning of the year as all the other unions in the city. These guys are on every call with us, and certainly they deserve not to have to wait till maybe April to get a pay raise. So that's why we're asking for that to be passed tonight. And that's in line, like I said, with the other pay raises that the unions are getting.
And Chief, that's in direct reference to ordinance 2020-66?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the fire chief? Chief, I do have one question for you. You mentioned the, oh, it just left my mind, so forget that. I'm sorry.
Give me a call tomorrow.
That happens.
I'll answer it.
I certainly will. Since no one has any more questions, then we'll move on to Finance Director Doles.
Thank you, Councilman Jaworski. I do not have anything to add to my monthly report.
Does anyone have any questions for the Finance Director? Debbie, could you just go over the financials for the beginning of this month?
Certainly. At the end of November, our general fund balance was 5.2 million. There will be next week an advance into the sewer fund to write that fund, but I suspect that by the end of December, we will close with a carryover balance about 4.9-ish for 2021. And that is primarily because of the CARES Act funding and the salaries that we have charged to that, the portion of the safety services salaries. So that has saved us quite a bit.
So we're looking at roughly a $300,000 transfer then for the sewer?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping to keep it between 150 and 200,000. However, I mean, there's other things that will go on. I've got to do a subsidy transfer into the safety service fund this month. So I suspect it'll be between 4.8 and $5 million carryover.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Seeing that there's no other questions, we'll move then to the city engineer.
Thank you, Council President. Couple things to add to my written report. Number one, the applications were submitted, or the application was submitted to for the Lakeland Boulevard resurfacing phase 1. Last Wednesday it was due. That all went in, so we're in good shape there. At this time, I'd like to request authorization to proceed with preparing the plans and specifications. I know that an invoice won't be made until after January if we were to get started now. So budget wise, I don't know if that would affect the finance director or not, but if I can get started, maybe I can get my survey crews out there before the snow starts falling and be able to get going.
Thank you, Pete. Does anyone have any questions for the city engineer? No? Well, then I would like to make a motion then to authorize the city engineer to begin to prepare plans and specifications for Lakeland Boulevard Phase 1.
Second.
Second.
Second from Councilman Bogo. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yep, forgot I was on mute. Okay,
That's
Bogo,
okay.
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
and Saloto.
One other thing, Council President,
Thank you, Maria.
council's discretion, I would love to have a discussion with council, Ron and I possibly with the council about the preventative maintenance that we're basically not doing right now, but in the city, to talk about what our options are, what we can possibly do to prolong the life of some of our pavements so that we're not, and they're falling apart rapidly. We all know that, but if we can nail some of the ones that are just in halfway good shape and, push them back, with some minimal cost, a few years so that we can concentrate in the future here, near future on the really bad ones. I think that'd be a good thing for the city. And I'd like to discuss that with the appropriate council, appropriate committee.
Pete, I'd like to put that and we'll place road preventative maintenance into the improvement committee. I'm going to be out end of December, beginning of January, but after that first January meeting, we'll schedule an improvement committee meeting and we'll go from there on that.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the service director.
Thank you, Councilman Jaworski, or acting Council President Jaworski. Couple of things to add to my report, a couple of things that are in there. I just want to briefly touch on them. We are doing our final round of interviews tomorrow. We narrowed it down to 3 prospective employees for a new service department worker, and we're looking forward to that. So hopefully we're going to have him started here. Most likely have to give a 2-week notice. We'll start him right at the first of the year. 3rd round of leaf pickup is finished. It went a little, obviously we had the snow and that put us a little bit behind, but we got through the whole city. There was probably only about maybe 15 to 20 piles put out after that, that we had to give residents notices to, remove the piles that we were finished in that area and come out. I really thought it was going to be worse than that. But I think there was maybe 20. I had second shift to go out the other day and give out some letters. The snowstorm, it was a little bit more than we had 3 trucks ready to go that day. We got a little bit more snow than I hadn't anticipated. We had 3 salt trucks. We had 5 small trucks ready to go. One of the trucks actually broke down pretty early, but we got it back on the road in a few hours. Then another one broke. We got it back on the road. So the mechanics were very busy that day. I know we talked in the past about having another mechanic. And the mayor, I had a meeting actually with the mayor, and he's all for trying to put that in negotiations in the fall and getting somebody hired on maybe at a little lower rate than what the mechanics are currently making. But we could have definitely used another mechanic that day. Also, I know the mayor sent out a email to you guys saying that in March, as long as the bottom doesn't fall out of the budget, that he's looking to hire another guy for our service department, another laborer for our service department. And that will be fantastic. So I just wanted to thank the mayor and you guys, council, for pushing for that. Thank you. A couple other little things, just a pump station generator, as Tom knows, that's all done, hooked up and running finally. So that project's completed. That most of that was paid for with the NOPEC grant, and we have a brand new generator at the pump station. As we can talk a little more, Matt, about the smoke testing. I don't know if we were probably, I believe we did the whole city before. We were talking about maybe just doing a quarter of the city because we have to, we know there's leaks and stuff like that, so we'll have to address the repairs. So I didn't know how big of a project scope we were going to get into, but we can certainly talk about that at a later meeting. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the service director?
Yes, I like to ask, or request both Pete or Ron or the both of them to, before we meet in committee about the streets, I'd like to have like your worst to best or whatever, or the ones you want to do, so we can go out and look at them too before we
Absolutely.
the meeting. That would. That's
Not a
all.
problem.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for the service director? Ron, I do have one question for you. You mentioned the snow removal. I got a number of questions from residents about plowing of sidewalks. And I realized that the snow melted very quickly this time around. Will you guys have the personnel, or are you planning on plowing sidewalks this winter?
The plan for this winter is to do, even though the only thing up in question was the school zones, because the schools aren't operating. But yeah, we're gonna do all the mains, and I believe we're still gonna just go ahead and do the school zones within walking distance of, elementary school and things like that. So my plan is to continue as we have been doing. Now, we don't do the whole city anymore, but the streets we've done in the past, we're gonna continue to do the same ones.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up on the agenda then is the building commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I just got to have a few things to add to my monthly report. The larger projects around town, PCC airfoils, they got that addition all blocked in. Also, True Line is running all their brick veneer on the outside, trying to beat the weather. And Lake Tran is setting their electric charging posts soon, and there's a lot of sewer work going on in the residential area, a lot of cement work, and that's all I have.
Does anyone have any questions for the building commissioner? Sherry?
Thank you. All right, first, Ron, I wanted to let you know, we just heard from the superintendent of the schools today that they are going to try to go back to school starting January 5th. Okay, and then Ray,
Yes.
this is probably for you and sort of for Pete. I've had a couple calls or emails from residents on Douglas and Mapledale, and they're complaining about what I believe is the Bellich property in Willowick on the other side of Euclid Avenue. They're complaining about dust and just that the sweeper that they are using, they said, flies down the street and stirs up more dust than it's actually sweeping up. And they feel that they're starting too early. I don't know what time they're allowed to start, but they're claiming that the big trucks are rolling in at 6:30 in the morning and they go until 7 o'clock at night. And yeah, just a general dusty haze. So I don't know if someone can speak.
Hey, Sherry, this is John. We'll have an officer down there in the morning to keep an eye on that. When you do, just being that it's on the edge of town, sometimes it goes unknown. If you get those complaints, forward them to myself and Chief Ice and all of us. I mean, as soon as you get, because sometimes, I mean, Wickliffe area has been a lot better, but if we're not seeing that and it's technically Willowick, maybe they think they can get away with it and it's falling on deaf ears. But
Okay.
yeah, definitely forward those on as soon as you get those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for the building commissioner? Joe?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, I also got a complaint on that area as well. What happened with the sweeper is the water truck they had, the battery died. Once they got it up, because the sweeper wasn't making a difference on the muddy day. Once they got the water truck, it definitely reduced it more that day, and it made a difference. So I don't know if that was the day and maybe that was the issue, but normally when I call, they handle it fairly quickly. So that's all.
I also did have a couple calls on that, Councilman Koski, about the roads, and I called the Belliches, and they handled it right away for me. And actually, that's in Willowick and Willoughby, so, but half it's in ours, so they obliged everything, cleaned everything up for us.
Does anyone else have any additional questions for the building commissioner? No? All right, then it's up to the recreation director, Mr. Stapp.
Thank you, Councilman Jaworski. I just have two comments. Our pavilion reservation process is going to look a little bit different this year. Without City Hall being open and available to the public and having people inside, we're going to go to an electronic format this year where we're going to ask residents to go ahead and fill out the request by the forms online and then email it to us. And then we will go ahead and process that. We will have the information out on the website this week with times and and when we're going to start that up. I just wanted people to know that that reservation process will be different this year. It will not be in person. We will start out by email, doing those requests by email. And secondly, I wanted to recognize the recent passing of Joanne Beal, a longtime Wickliffe resident, and she served for 45 plus years, I think it was, on the Parks and Recreation Commission. And she kind of took me under her wing for a while, and when I came on board, and she will definitely be missed by the city. And I just wanted to send my condolences to the family and just recognize her passing.
Tim, I certainly echo those comments as well. Joanne was a legend in the city, and she gave so much, and was just a very important part of the Parks and Recreation Commission for so many years. So certainly send our condolences out to her family on her passing. Does anyone have any questions for the Recreation Director? Okay, then let's move on to the Economic Development Director. Monica?
Thank you, Acting Council President. A few things. I just wanted to let you know that we were getting reports that people hadn't received their checks from the grants. So we did a follow-up with everybody. And so through the follow-up, we were able to ensure everybody received their grant checks. As far as we know, we did communicate with everybody, and and we're able to clear up, I think there were about 5 to 6 missing checks that were addressed. So that was good. I've been getting calls. It's very early on, but it's good movement that people are interested in some of our buildings that are for sale in the city. So good news, excited about one of the calls I received today. So we'll see if they go to the next step. It was an inquiry, but it would be a great opportunity for the city. This particular call I got today. Let's see. I received communication from the Cleveland Foundation that though the Lake and Geauga counties fund was not available, they offered to allow us to communicate or grant inquiry to the full of the Cleveland Foundation. So tomorrow afternoon, I have a call. Hopefully John's able to join me as well, but we have a call tomorrow afternoon on that to discuss it, to see if we're able to receive any funds. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for the Economic Development Director? Joe?
Yeah, just Monica, I know we've talked and I believe 2006 was the last time that like a zone study was done or master plan study. So you think that'd be a good idea if we all took a look at that again, or what would be the next step? Maybe put that in committee, or that's kind of my question.
Joe, that was going to be part of the strategic planning we've been talking about and discussing for weeks now. They're going to review the zoning.
Okay. All right. Because I remember we discussed it and just wanted to know.
I mean, we just discussed it last council meeting, I believe. But it's what we've been discussing with the OHM and MS and the consultants. I mean, they're going to be reviewing the zoning as well. That's part of the process.
All right.
Yes. And that's why, in part, I also support moving forward with what we're working on with the request for proposal, is due to the fact that it is a long time since the city has reviewed the zoning. Normally 10 years tends to be kind of a long period of time. And I believe it's been about 16 years since the city has done this. So it is definitely time to take a look at it and make recommendations where appropriate. And so look forward to that.
Does anyone else have any questions for the Economic Development Director? No? Okay, well, at this point in time, then we will open up the meetings for audience participation. You have upwards of 5 minutes to address members of Wickliffe City Council. Does anyone want to address Wickliffe City Council? Yes, Jim. Please state your, I forgot to mention, please state your name and address for the clerk as well.
Jim Liss, LIS, 29717 Arthur Avenue. Question is, why is Greenridge closed? 59 degrees Friday, sunny. I enjoy the course very much. I call up on the phone, says it's closed for the rest of the year. So what's going on?
Tim, can you speak to that, please?
It's a staffing issue. We just don't have staff to operate it.
Thank you, Tim. Shame that we don't have the staff, but certainly can understand at this time of year with everything going on.
How come, what happened to the staff? I mean, there used to be people there. You seem like there used to be enough people there.
Well, and sir, sorry, this is the mayor jumping in. I mean, a week before we had a foot of snow, so we can't necessarily just, call up the day before and say, hey, everyone's working tomorrow. The weather's going to fluctuate. It's a little bit difficult as it is this year in general, keeping especially part-time employees. So if we see the weather, let's say, is going to be, north of 50 degrees for a longer stretch, maybe then, but it's going to be in the 30s going forward. So we'll probably end up just opening it back up springtime.
That's too bad. Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions for Wickliffe City Council? Anybody else?
I have a quick question.
Yeah. Go ahead, John. John, could you please give your name and address for the clerk?
Yes, I'm John Duff, 2218 Pine Ridge Drive. And it seems that every week when garbage is picked up, there's always a trail. You could just about follow it and find the garbage truck. Ever since this particular company has taken over, they dump the trash, they dump the recyclables, and they seldom, if ever, pick up anything that doesn't make it into the hoppers. They used to be much better about it when Wickliffe had it, of course, but now they should have enough time to be able to pick things up or be a little more careful. I don't know if anyone has complained about it before, but I see it on a weekly basis.
Certainly, you're not the only one. I've had other complaints about that, and I've seen it myself, John. Ron, how often do we get these types of calls or complaints from Kimball?
I would say probably, every week or every other week or something like that. We definitely do still get some. And it's, unfortunately, it's just some of the drivers, some of the drivers take a little bit of pride in their work and do get out and pick it up. I've seen it. But yeah, the majority of them, especially when they're, again, they're overloaded with work and things like that, especially when leaves were out and everything, they're flying through because they're working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so they don't care about a little bit of garbage that's flying around the road. But you can certainly call Kimball. There's that 1-800 number on the side. They can certainly call them and put their complaint into them. That no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Ron, to follow up then, if it's real bad, do your guys go and clean up the mess, or does Kimball, do they go back and get it?
Just in the summertime, I really don't have much time to do that. But right now we do have a part-timer working, and actually he kind of cruises around the garbage routes and sees what's on the roads. All we do is pick up the stuff on the roads, though. We do not go into people's front yards and stuff, and the stuff blows up. All we do is stay in the strictly right of way. But we do kind of follow the garbage trucks, and that's kind of something that's been newer implemented.
It's certainly a shame that we have to do that, but I appreciate your guys helping keep the city clean.
They complain, it's the wind. There's always some kind of excuse. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're actually pretty good with us. I mean, there's one manager over there, and he'll call the guy on the route and tell him, hey, go back, but that doesn't mean it happens. So that's as much as I can tell you.
I have one other small suggestion. If in one of the newsletters, if the mayor or one of the councilmen would mention to people, take a Heinen's bag or a box and put your newspapers and papers into that. When it gets full, recycle it, because that seems to be a large source of the windblown debris is light pieces of paper. Put it in a box, put it in a bag, throw it away once a month, and it won't be as messy.
Sherry?
I don't want the blue bags in the recycle bin, so a box would be a better suggestion.
Got it.
Well, thank you, John. Certainly appreciate it. Does anyone else would anyone else like to address Wickliffe City Council? Anyone else? All right, well, then we will mark audience participation closed. And if I can get my minutes up here. From there, we will go on to committee reports. The Finance Committee met on December 7th, 2020. Meeting was called to order at 7:03 p.m. and the purpose was for the Euclid Avenue Economic Development Request for Proposal. Present Bogo, Gahartstein, Koski, Levon, Sakis, Soloto, excused Jaworski. Also present Mayor Barbish, Engineer Formica, Finance Director Doles, Building Commissioner Sack, and Economic Development Manager Drake. The Economic Development Euclid Avenue Committee recommended OHM's request for proposal for an economic development study at a price of $45,000. And Council President Levon asked the committee if they had any thoughts. Councilman Gahartstein announced he's not comfortable spending this money until he feels the service department is properly staffed, until we have the residents vote on whether we want to continue to have referendum zoning in our charter. The study will tell us we need to rezone specific locations, but that would be very difficult if the charter isn't changed. Councilman Sakis notified the committee that he came across an article, which he shared via email just before the meeting, where advisors at OHM were recently found guilty of fraud at the Lake County Common Pleas Court. He is not comfortable awarding the contract to this company without further investigation. Economic Development Manager Drake stated that MS Consulting finished second in the scoring review done by the Economic Development Committee, and they had the same price of $45,000. She also stated the master plans should be done every 10 years, and the last time the cities was reviewed was in 2006. Councilwoman Soloto offered to investigate the OHM fraud situation and report back her findings to the committee. Drake offered to review the credentials and references of MS Consulting and will update the committee. Council President Levon asked to have this completed and presented at the December 14th council meeting, and this item will remain in committee. Meeting adjourned at 7:20. Respectfully submitted, Edward A. Levon, Chairman of the committee. At this time, Councilwoman Soloto, were you able to find any information that you would be able to disseminate to council?
So yes, as I told you, I would look into what that particular fraud allegation was. And it looks as if it was a contractor. I did speak with someone at the firm that actually litigated it. And it was a particular contractor that was suing and, for, not appropriate compensation. And he actually won. And again, it wasn't necessarily, it was one particular contractor that was unhappy with his compensation. So again, from what I can tell, there isn't really anything else in the way of detrimental behavior or conduct at the firm. However, that was, a publicized win, and Councilman Sakis did happen to run across that. So again, if I'm not sure what, Monica, you found out. It was very close. I mean, I think many of us were happy with both of the firms. So if we feel more comfortable, going with the second firm, I mean, we should probably talk about it. Maybe Monica, you could share a little bit about what you found out with respect to a little bit more investigation with the second firm.
Yes, I'm happy to. I have looked into the second firm, and I've asked various people that have worked with them, and they have been happy, not only happy with their work, but have also said that they would be happy to work with them again. I know that the NOACA has just recently hired them to conduct their regional lakefront development project, which also encompasses into Lake County. So NOACA is going to be using them as well. So and any engineering firm consulting firm that NOACA does, they go through a request for qualifications, pre-qualifies those companies before they offer them to either they use them themselves or offer them or recommend them for use by people that are getting TLCI grants. So with all of that and the various things, they're sub-consultants. They're using the same sub-consultant that the other firm was looking at using as well. And as well as Kelfie Zoning is another subcontractor. So Ice Miller and Kelfie Zoning. So I think that the city would be well served working with MS Consultants.
Thank you, Monica. This based on, unfortunately, I was not able to be at the meeting, but Ed still has this in committee. So at this point in time, the topic will remain in the Finance Committee, and he's going to be calling a meeting for that when he's able to. I would imagine he'll probably address that during the next meeting. Randy, I see your hand.
Monica, on the last page of the MS Consultants, there's two fees. There's a $45,000 and a $65,000 for supplemental. Could you tell me the difference between the two? What's the base one and then what's the supplemental?
Yes, so the base consulting fee is specifically looking along Euclid Avenue. And then it was also recommended and requested that the city can take a holistic view. And so what we did when we put out the request for proposal is divided the two fee, divided into a base fee and then a supplemental. And that way it gave the city the some agility in awarding the base one, or if they felt it worthy to award the second one, or based on funding, such as if the city receives the grant, the grant will help cover, like if they want to do the supplemental one with the grant, then it covers that fee, because the grant request made to Cleveland Foundation was for $60,000. So it would cover that, basically cover that secondary fee. And then they would do a more encompassed across the whole city, looking at all of our areas, and rather than above and beyond the focus of the primary look of along Euclid Avenue.
So the Euclid Avenue one was the 45?
Correct. And there's a lot of work involved. Do you have a copy of the original request for proposal as to what we requested they bid upon?
No, I do not.
Okay, I will email that to you, Randy, so that you are able to review it, see what each firm looked at, and happy to share whatever you'd like to read with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Monica. Again, that will remain in committee, and Council President Levon will be calling a meeting on that when he's back in the saddle here. Are there any commission reports? No commission reports. Okay, there is no old business, so that takes us to new business, the Trex application.
Hey, Matt, this is Mayor Barbich. I'll go ahead and jump in since Ed's not here. I think him, myself, and Scott, sorry, we're on the thread. A gentleman that owns two other, barn restaurants, one in Maple Heights, one in Cleveland, Cleveland applied to transfer a liquor license from out of the city into the city for use at, I don't have the address in front of me, but it's the corner, the white corner building on the corner of Euclid and 290th, one of the Yanish properties where John's Bar was. And he would like to open up a bar and grill there. I believe the Trex application, it specifically says for economic development purposes. The law director can clarify that. I spoke to the gentleman, the other day just to clarify what he was looking to do, made him aware of the property and that, it's been known to the landlords don't keep up on the property there, as there's still, I think, currently building violations at that property. Seems to be aware of all of it. And I believe, Scott, if you want to jump in, usually council approves these. One was applied for and approved at the Fair Bridge, I think was the last one that was transferred in. Or one was Casa Divina, but I didn't approve it, so I don't know who approves it. But again, this is, going forward, it's something to think about before we run into this where, do we want 5 more liquor licenses in the city, 10 more liquor licenses in the city? Do we have a certain limit? Again, meant to be an economic development tool. I don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing, but do we want to just say yes to everything that comes into town as well? So with that, I'll turn it over to the law director if he wants to clarify who makes the actual decision on that approval or denial.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a Trex application, and what this is basically it takes areas of the state that have an excess amount of liquor licenses. They allow to be transferred into a community when there's not an available liquor license for the purposes of economic development. And for the legislative authority of the city, or I shouldn't say the legislative authority, someone with authority from the city has to sign off on a permit for them to proceed with trying to get this permit transferred here. It has to be either the mayor, the law director, or a legislative authority from council. Typically, we usually have council review these permits. I think it would be appropriate that if we want to agree to this, that the mayor, as the chief administrator of the city, I think he'd be the appropriate individual to sign off. But I did bring it to Council President Levon's attention, thought that it should be mentioned at this meeting for all of council to have an opportunity to, make their comments on whether they think this is something we should agree to or we shouldn't.
Councilwoman Saloto.
So yes, it is a great economic development tool. Yes, we certainly want to bring businesses into Wickliffe. And there are a lot of liquor licenses, believe it or not, out in Wickliffe at this time. And there's only a certain amount that's allowed for each city limit in the state, depending on the size of the city, et cetera. I do remember, way back when, my family does have a restaurant. We didn't have a liquor license. It was a wonderful establishment. We suffered without a liquor license for nearly, it was like 6 or 7 years before we could get even a wine and beer license. And that was very difficult. And, it's very detrimental to the business if they're trying to open a food establishment. But at the same time, when we did that, we actually, when we were able to get a transfer in from another city, we actually had to present a business plan to the council at that time and talk about, what kind of establishment we were opening and how we felt that it would be a benefit, or how we felt it would help our particular business continue to thrive within the city economically and bring good to the city. So I'm not sure that it isn't such a bad idea for us to put some sort of formal procedure in place when we are going to do something as actually important as transferring in yet another liquor license into Wickliffe, to have somebody, some sort of committee, or maybe the mayor or somebody actually get to hear what type of establishment it's going to be, and get to hear about how it might, help the city to bring in this particular bit of economic health.
Councilwoman Koski.
Did you say they currently are operating businesses in other cities?
Councilperson, no, there's not a liquor permit available in Wickliffe. So this allows them to have the ability to take a license from outside the city of Wickliffe and have it transferred here to Wickliffe for their business.
Yes, but my
no, Scott, I think she was clarifying. Sorry, Sherry. Yeah, he said that they run 2 other operations. Again, I'm not familiar with either of them. One's in Maple Heights and one's in Cleveland. Stackers Bar and Grill was the one in Maple Heights, and then Foundations was in Cleveland. And again, I'm not sure of the address. I saw some business filings on the Ohio Secretary of State site. I searched just for a few moments. The trademark name for Stackers had expired a month or two ago, but I don't know if that, again, not being familiar with the bar and restaurant industry, I'm not sure if that hinders any of their operations. I didn't have time to check with, Department of Health or anything of that nature. But again, I didn't make the decision last time this was brought up, so I didn't think I was making this decision, or if that's the case, I'll do a little more research and then report back.
And if I could say again, maybe the appropriate thing based on Councilperson Saloto's comments is maybe to schedule a committee of the whole meeting and ask these people to come before council and explain to them, why they think it's a good idea that we would allow this liquor license in, and kind of make a decision through there. So it is a general decision made by, the legislative authority of the city.
I like that. I'd agree.
Scott or Mr. Mayor, is there a time frame that this has to be done?
I don't believe so, but Scott, you might know. I'm not sure if there's a.
I am not sure for their time frame of how quick this has to be. Sandy did speak to the gentleman when he originally approached her. I'm going to make the presumption that the sooner for them, the better, because I don't know how long these things are available for. So if we did want to put in a committee of the whole, we'd probably want to try to do that, sooner than later, so that they don't lose the opportunity.
Councilman Gaharstein?
Mayor, the property you're talking about at 290th and Euclid, the landlord, you said that they don't keep up with the property. I would be on the assumption that before they would be allowed to open, that building would have to be brought up to code, correct? Before.
Oh, well, yeah, they would need and that's what I informed the gentleman inquiring. I said, hey, there'd have to be, occupancy permit issued, have to be up to code. Yes. And again, it's been vacant for some time. Again, I don't know what that would entail. It's probably been 20 years since I've been in the building, but just wanted to make sure he was at least aware of those things. If it were to get approved, that, hey, he knows it's, I even informed him. I said, hey, I think they were, we sent them a letter not even a few months ago about a broken window. I mean, it's always something at that property. So.
Well, I think it's the same landlord, Mayor, that owns Mugshots. And I know she had some problems with the floor fell in at Mugshots, because I believe the same landlord won't take care of the property there.
Yes, and Councilperson Hardstein, my understanding is that this gentleman, that they're going to initially be leasing the property for the business, but their intent is to eventually purchase the building from the current owner.
Well,
That's the intent?
Well, I'm just saying that it would be an improvement on that corner if they were, got in there and brought the building up to code, because then it would definitely not be an eyesore in that corner. I just want to make sure that that's what the intention was. They'd have to bring that up, because the mayor is correct. I believe the same landlord owns Mugshots, and she's talked to me that the floor fell and the freezer fell into the floor because the landlord would take care of that building.
Yeah, and every time we do send them a letter or something to fix something, it doesn't happen right away, or they end up going to court. It's just, so I get their intents to purchase it, but until they purchase it, they're at the mercy of the landlord.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yep.
Ray, did you have something to say?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I'd recommend for this new business, we can send them to the Architectural Review Board and also Planning Commission, so that we could tidy that corner up in the building. And we could request all the deficiencies on the building repaired before they got a occupancy permit.
Thank you, Ray. Based on members of council, based on what the mayor and what the law director said, if you're okay with it, I'm going to put this Trex application into the committee of the whole, and I'll ask Council President Levant to meet on this as soon as possible, so we can discuss this and help make a decision on this then. Okay. So that was item A, and item B then is the organizational meeting for council, which will be taking place on January 4th, 2020. That is the first Monday in January. So if you all just want to be able to mark that on your calendar, I believe the council president had sent out an email to us. It was sometime late last week, I believe. That now takes us to the ordinances.
Ordinance, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Law Director.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2020-57, an ordinance providing temporary appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio for the period beginning January 1st, 2021 and ending March 31st, 2021. Third reading.
Adoption.
Second.
Adopted by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilman Hartstein. Any comments? Okay, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Hosky,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Okay, next we are ordinance number 2020-66. An ordinance providing for the compensation and other employment provisions for part-time firefighters of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, repealing any and all other ordinances or parts thereof that may be inconsistent with this ordinance and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Motion is made to suspend by Councilman Sakis and seconded by Councilman Bogo. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Hosky,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Motion made to adopt by Councilman Sakis and seconded by Councilman Hartstein. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Hosky,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-67, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one new BioQuell BQ EMS system with related equipment and contamination solution for use by the Wickliffe Fire Department and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made or motion to suspend made by Councilman Koski, seconded by Councilman Sakis. Any discussion on this matter? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Hosky,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Motion to adopt made by Councilman Hartstein, seconded by Councilman Bogo. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Hosky,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Resolution number 2020-23, a resolution requesting the Lake County Auditor to make advance payments of taxes. Third reading.
Adoption.
Second.
Motion to adopt made by Councilman Koski, seconded by Councilman Sakis. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Hosky,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Okay, and next is resolution number 2020-26. Council Person Jaworski, do you know if Ms. Gentili is in attendance this evening?
Let me look, Mr. Law Director. I do not see her by name on here.
Okay, thank you. Once again, resolution number 2020-26, a resolution recognizing Rose Gentili on her retirement from the Finance Department of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, commending her dedicated service and wishing her good fortune in declaring an emergency. Whereas Rosemary C. Gentili began her career at the City of Wickliffe as a tax auditor on September 18, 1989, advanced to a senior tax auditor, and completed her career with the city as the payroll benefits coordinator. And whereas Rose participated in the United Way Day of Caring representing the City of Wickliffe. And whereas Rose, a Wickliffe resident who was born in Cleveland and was raised in Euclid, is the beloved and devoted daughter of Donald and Catherine M. Gentili, is the youngest of 3 children, including brother Don, married to Kathy, and Tom, married to Kathy. Is the proud aunt of Matthew, Tom Jr., Christopher, Bridget, and Megan, and is the proud great aunt of 12 nieces and nephews. And whereas Rose is an active member of St. Robert's and William Parish in Euclid, Ohio, the Saints Robert and William Endowment Board, and the Irish American Club East Side. And whereas Rose enjoys working in her garden, growing both vegetables and flowers, as well as traveling. And whereas throughout her career, Rose was professional and helpful to many residents throughout her time in the Tax Finance Department, and she looks forward to volunteering and traveling during retirement.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension by Councilman Sakis and seconded by Councilman Bogo. Any discussion? Councilwoman Koski?
I always enjoyed any interaction I had with Rose. I thought she was very professional. She did a great job and she will be missed.
Councilwoman Saloto?
Rose was a fixture in the city for, I mean, I guess I've been here forever, but she was always there, always with a smile on her face, great sense of humor, really great person. And she was very helpful to me many times throughout even my younger years here in Wickliffe. So she's a wonderful woman. Listen, nothing but the best. Have a wonderful retirement. See the world. Just travel, travel, travel. All right.
Councilman Gehartstein?
I would just like to thank her for her years of service to the city of Wickliffe and wish her a happy retirement.
Same
Councilman
goes.
Sakis?
Have a great retirement, Rose, and thank you for all the great stories in the tax department when you were there.
I'd like to make the comment that we were blessed to have her in our community. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councilman Bogo. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Did we adopt it?
No, that was the suspension.
Adoption.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to adopt resolution number 2020-26. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Resolution number 2020-27, resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Suspension made by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilman Gehartstein to suspend resolution number 2020-27. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Adoption made by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to adopt resolution 2020-27. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Any other legislation? Miscellaneous? All right, real quick, just want to wish everyone a very happy New Year, a very blessed Christmas. I will not be here for the next meeting. I'll be having my shoulder cut up, but look forward to seeing everybody in 2021. At this time, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Hartstein, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adjourn this Wickliffe City Council meeting. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Gerhardstein,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We have a meeting next week.
All right. Merry Christmas anyways. Go Browns.
Good luck, Matt.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.